Alright, so I'm the town outcast, badass.
And I'm the town sheriff. And you're under arrest, punk.
Fuck you. No, I'm not. I got a problem with authority. Hey, fuck that. No one cuffs me. Hey, you got keys for that?
If it had a mind, you could reason with it. If it had a face, you could look it in the eye. If it had a body, you could shoot it.
We watched the remake of the classic movie from the 50s, The Blob.
And this one took place in 1988, right when my hairdo was hitting its peak of popularity. It's supposed to be a mullet, in case you were wondering.
Might have lasted just for that 1 year, 1988, the only time the mullet was popular.
Nah, that's not true. 89, and if you watch certain episodes of Cops, it went all the way into the 90s.
I went to the Dairy Queen. And
We'll talk. We have a new beer that we're drinking. It's actually a cider, unfiltered, called Space.
Where the blob came from.
Or did it?
Cheers to that.
Cheers.
That is true. We learned some information in this movie. Who knows if the blob is really a space alien?
Sheriff,
I thought it was.
Sheriff, let's get into the Blob, because I fucking love 1988's The Blob. As a kid, I saw it more times in the theater than I can possibly even count. I snuck in every time because I think I was 11. Love this movie.
And I was very afraid to watch this movie when I was a kid. I know we talked about this. I saw it when I was young, but I was like scarred from some of the killings in this movie. The violent deaths in this movie had me never wanting to watch this movie again until today.
You're a big pussy, Sheriff.
I am a big pussy.
That's the most pussy thing I've ever heard in my life, Sheriff.
Well, I was saving it for a special occasion like today. And I'm glad I did because I had a great time watching this movie. What a hell of a fun time.
I remember watching this movie, I vividly still remember when you said, God, we could do The Blob, man, but like, just so you know, that movie fucked me up, and I don't want to be eating during it. I knew exactly what you were talking about because the punch of this movie is those fucking kills and like, just the non-apologetic way of like not being scared to kill like kids in gruesome ways and like sweet women that are just closing up diners. Mm-hmm. This movie it's a steamroller of like, get the fuck out of my way or you're dead, and I love it for that.
Yeah, we were talking about while watching this movie, there's not many characters that they set up to be just where you don't like them. You know, most horror movies have that obvious fodder of, oh, well, there's the bully, he's gonna die. There's the punk, he's gonna die. There's the sheriff who, you know, the mean sheriff or whatever. They set up certain characters so you know that they're just fodder to be killed by monsters or whatever. And in this movie, almost every character they kind of seem like somebody that you could get behind and like. They had the good qualities. They cared about the other people in the town. And so when they actually do get killed by the blob, you kind of feel really bad. You're like, oh my God, that was a little boy. I'm never going to forget some of these death scenes in this movie. They're grotesque, that is for sure.
They are fucking disturbing. And if you don't know, The Blob is based on an old classic quote-unquote film called The Blob. It's just about a meteorite that shoots into Earth and turns into a blob and terrorizes a small town. This movie is the exact same plot, but they just take it in such a bigger horror element. It's still science fiction, and especially when you see sort of like the government people show up, it has that little E.T. vibe. You're like, who is doing what? What is the purpose of this? What are they trying to find out?
Doing an anniversary screening right now.
So I can spoil the shit out of it and say like, the government people, you find out they're the ones that kind of created this thing. It didn't come from outer space. It's part of like a weapons design program that they're doing to try to take over the fucking world or some shit.
Now, see, that's just what a young punk would say. Blaming the government, blaming, you know, the man.
I'm just riding my fucking motorcycle, drinking my milk.
Yeah, you stick to that. What I really love about this movie is that it stars Shawnee Smith, a girl from my past that I had quite a crush on.
Let's talk about that.
I'd love to put her in a cell and spend a night with her, you know, with my nightstick. Well, I won't go into details.
Did you ever give her your blob?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. She got a few blobs on that TV screen.
Her on a magazine spread and like your blob ended up on the magazine? The acting in this movie, it should be just atrocious, but for some reason it just plays well with the rest of the movie. Like, Kevin Dillon, like you said, you don't really feel he's just a guy reading lines. And in this movie, that's really all he has to be. But he has the best 1988 like leather shirt or leather jacket, bad boy strut I think I've ever seen. No one pulls it off like Kevin fucking Dillon. Well paced, gets you into the story right away, and it really never slows down. Like these kills just start racking up, and every time you're like, oh, where's the blob? Boom, there it is, and just
Their faces that end up looking like this, a hell of a lot like this, just peeled back, the skin and everything just ripped right off the skeleton.
And it's so realistic looking, as what I would picture that would look like. There's a couple of composited kind of off shots in this
couple
film.
of effects as the blob gets bigger and they need to show a bit more of a wide shot, like a whole city street with the blob.
But it looks better than I remember, because I remember going into this and saying, oh, there's a couple, like the close-up shots, it's masterful, and then the wide shots, it looks really wonky. I was actually a little more impressed than I remember. Like a lot of, I mean, there's always that obligatory shot where like someone like stands in front of the green screen and looks like this and then runs off. Yeah, and you get Kevin Dillon doing that at that one moment at the end, and it's almost like it's a joke.
But his mullet looked great in that shot.
Yeah, it did. Thank you.
Chuck Russell, the director of this movie.
Yeah, Chuck Russell, and then this also had Darabont's stamp all over it too.
Exactly.
A lot of the actors are Frank Darabont's. It had the similar feel with the town.
Yes, the small town feel that he presents to a lot of his films. You know, he's made some really fun movies, I would say. I think that's a good stamp of his films, is that they all seem fun. I think of all four of those movies as being fun
and
movies.
well-paced.
And you see it. You'll recognize a lot of faces.
The guy from from RoboCop. One of the best death scenes of all time.
And he's got an epic death scene in this movie as well.
He sure as hell does. But is there a non-epic death scene in this movie?
Not really. Almost everybody who gets it from the blob, it's pretty epic.
That's the only thing they care about in this movie, is like the death scene.
Yeah. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be gory, and these kills stick with you. They really do. I don't know anybody who would walk out of this movie and not remember these things for like the rest of their life, because they really do just grow. They're so grotesque.
The movie is a symphony of grotesque imagery and kills and fun 80s schlock. Love this movie.